You go fishing every week. Enough! You catch girls instead of fish? You've got to be kidding me. I'm talking too fast, and my husband on the phone is just getting anxious. Of course, I'm not going to forgive him. That's how much damage this man has done. I don't want to see your face again. I hope you regret it soon enough. My name is Lisa. I'm a 35-year-old housewife. My only daughter, Ava, graduated from college a while ago and started working in the spring. At the same time, she started living alone, but she seemed to be having a hard time balancing work and housework, which she's not used to. Whenever a weekend comes around, she calls for help. Help me, Mom! I can't clean my room at all. I feel sorry for her, but I'm still tired of myself for not being able to let go of my child. But I am so happy that she relies on me that I end up spoiling her. It seems my husband is the same way. Are you going to Ava's again? You'd better watch out for any sign of a man. What are things to say? Brian, my husband, and I were classmates in college. And we started dating at a class reunion. We got married after 3 years of dating. A few years later, we had Ava. And I worked part-time for a little while, but I've been a stay-at-home mom for the past few years. I was able to concentrate on raising her child, and Ava has grown up to be a good, honest child. Of course, I am grateful to my husband for creating this environment. I had no idea that he had betrayed me. Well, I'm off then. On his day off from work, my husband went fishing without a care in the world. He got hooked on fishing when his boss invited him to go fishing. He has all kinds of equipment and goes fishing every time he has a day off these days. I was a little happy that we would be able to spend more time together as a couple, now that we had finally finished raising Ava. In reality, however, that was not the case. Although we did not have any conversation, I was feeling a little inadequate. My daughter ever said to me with a disappointed look on her face, "Dad is an idiot, leaving you alone." "No, honey, I am grateful to your father." I said that because I knew she wouldn't want to see her parents not getting along. I had no choice but to put some words together. Besides, I felt that married couples in the world are like us. My husband is the only son, and we built our current house near in-laws' house to take care of them in the future. Some of our friends said it was unbelievable, but it didn't bother me. The reason for that was my in-law. "Is Lisa home? I made too many sweets, so I brought some to share with you." My energetic mother-in-law shouted at the front door. Ever since I got married, my mother-in-law, my husband's mother, has helped me a lot. Whenever we fight, she always took my side. When I had a hard time raising my Ava, she was always there for me. My father-in-law is the opposite of my mother-in-law, who has a calm and easygoing personality and speaks with a gruff voice. "Lisa, here are the sweets you told me you liked. I bought them. Let's eat them together." Sometimes he would visit us without his wife. My father-in-law is already retired. Recently, I have been enjoying having tea with my parents-in-law at their house. However, my husband doesn't seem to pay much attention to his own parents. When I talk about my parents-in-law, he just goes from one ear to the other. Still, he seems to be grateful to me. "Thank you for being good friends with my parents." I was happy to hear him say that from time to time. However, my mother-in-law seems to want my husband to be a little more involved in this circle. Why don't we invite Ava too, and we can all go on a trip together once in a while? I thought it was cute for her to say so with a bit of mousy look on her face. My mother-in-law said that my husband was selfish. She says he's always had a weak temper, but he's always been stubborn. But just like my husband and I, she always seemed to love her child. It made me chuckle to think that no matter what generation you are from, things never change. Going for a trip. It's true. The last time we took a trip was when Ava was in middle school. Hey, how about a trip with your parents once in a while? I asked my husband about it at dinner. What? I can't. I'm too busy with work. Besides, I'm going to go to a fishing spot a little further away on my next vacation with my boss. With a sigh, he sweeps me off my feet. But I try to tell him, but in the end, have fun without me. And he tapped me on the shoulder and left. I didn't mean it that way. So I told my in-laws about it. Oh no, he is a total workaholic. Even if Lisa gives up on him, I will never take his side. Mother-in-law was laughing, but when I looked at her face, I could see she was still in shock and looked a little sad. These days, my husband is always working, just like my mother-in-law says. He used to participate in community service work without fail. For the past few years, I've been participating alone. Thanks to the proximity of my parents-in-law's house, I'm getting along well with my parents-in-law. I'm also gotten to know my neighbors very well. Many of them are elderly, so they love me like a daughter. Although my parents' home is far away from here, I am very thankful that I am able to live peacefully in a strange land. It was during these days that my daughter Ava called me out of the blue. Mom, look at this. Daddy is cheating on you. Ava, with an angry face, showed me a picture. It seems to have been uploaded on a social networking site. Ava's friend seems to be addicted to fishing these days. As I was looking at it, I found a small photo of my husband and a strange woman in the back of the picture. It was so small that I could barely make it out by zooming in. Maybe my daughter is suited to be a detective or something, I thought to myself. I looked at that enlarged photo and I breathed a sigh of relief. No, Ava. The woman here next to your dad is his boss. We've seen her at company events and other occasions, but for the past few years, only Brian and I have been able to attend. No wonder Ava doesn't remember her face. I'm sure, somewhere in my heart, I too had a slight suspicion that my husband was cheating on me. I remember feeling relieved from the bottom of my heart. Oh no! I thought it wrong. I pet my daughter's head, who looked a little embarrassed. I hugged her and said, "Thank you for worrying about me." No wonder Dad is so popular. He's got a big belly these days. My daughter giggles. My husband and my daughter has been talking less and less as she got older. But through me, they talk about how things were going with each other. He said something about me, how's Ava doing, and such. I was smiling at how much they were alike. Come to think of it, I haven't touched that social networking site recently. When I first joined, I used to enjoy posting pictures, but for the past few years, I've been completely neglecting it. When I opened the site for the first time in a while, I found it in a ridiculous state. What the hell is this? I immediately talked to my daughter about it. After that, my husband's attitude has not changed in any way, while I spent my days in a state of uncertainty. Maybe he is worrying about my attitude, or is there something he's doing behind my back? Lisa, you haven't been well lately, my husband said with a worried look on his face. Nothing. But sometimes your parents seem lonely, so you should go out with them, I replied with a smile. Right. Okay. I'm going to visit my parents on my next day off, he said in a noisy voice. It doesn't even have to be a vacation. It's so close. You should go now. That's what I thought. My husband spent his next holiday as he declared, doing all sorts of things he could do for his parents-in-law. The next day, my parents-in-law came to tell me about the day with smiling face. They looked so happy. We went fishing together, but the fish Brian caught was bigger. I was so disappointed. My father-in-law smiled happily. On the way home from fishing, they had tea together at in-law's house. It was the first time in a long time that the family had a chance to get together. My parents-in-law seemed so happy about it. I had no idea at that time that something terrible would happen a few days later. That day, my husband left home early in the morning as usual. I asked him where he was going. He said, I'm going fishing with my dad, and that he had a good time with me the other day. I'm glad that he was happy. Well, I'm off then. He was strangely excited to go fishing with his father. I gave him a cold look. I had plans to go shopping with my daughter that day, so I went to the meeting place. It was a very hot day, with a maximum temperature of 96.8 Fahrenheit. While Eva and I were cooling off in a cafe, my phone rang. It was my mother-in-law's name on the screen, and I thought to invite her here, so we'll have a tea party. Lisa, come quickly. My husband collapsed. Hearing my mother-in-law was panicking, I was very upset. Eva, who was standing next to me, also looked worried about what was going on. I took a deep breath and listened to my mother-in-law's story. And it seemed that my father-in-law had been rushed to the emergency room with a heat stroke. A fisherman found him lying alone in a fishing spot. And the neighbor who happened to be at the fishing spot and knew my father-in-law contacted my mother-in-law. That's when a question came to my mind. So I called Brian, thinking he should be at the fishing spot. But I couldn't reach him at all. But he said he was going fishing with his father today. I had never heard such an anxious voice from my mother-in-law, who was always smiling and cheerful. So I started to tear up as well. Eva is with me now. We will be right there soon. It's gonna be okay. I hung up the phone and rushed to the hospital with my daughter. I called my husband on the way to the hospital, but he didn't respond. What are you doing at a time like this? I'll never forgive you, I thought to myself. When we arrived at the hospital, it seemed that the treatment was over and my father-in-law had already been moved to a hospital room. When I entered the room, I found my father-in-law asleep with an IV connected. My mother-in-law was sitting hopelessly beside him. According to my mother-in-law's explanation, my father-in-law's body temperature was 104 when he was brought to the hospital. I looked at them with tears in my eyes. My husband finally called me on my phone. Hello? My husband sounded very upset, as if he said something in my low voice. Oh, Lisa? I lost my father. Do you know what happened? He said such a silly thing. I guess my husband thought something was wrong, that I didn't say anything. We split up as soon as we got to the fishing grounds. That's a beginner, you know. So, I went a little further out to an advanced fishing spot. When I came back, he was gone. He left on his own. That's terrible, don't you think? He laughed. Your father is in the hospital right now, and it's your fault. What? I told him quietly. I got angry at him for saying nothing but what? You go fishing like a fool every week. Enough. You catch girls instead of fish? You've got to be kidding me. That's what I yelled and hung up the phone. When I returned to the hospital room, I found my father-in-law awake. He had recovered enough to have conversation with me. We were all relieved when the doctor told us that he would be in the hospital for a while, but he would be fine. According to my father-in-law, when they arrived at the fishing spot, my husband immediately told him to look after his belongings and disappeared. When Brian didn't come back for a while, father-in-law went back to the car and the car was there. So, my father-in-law waited at the fishing spot. He said he started to feel sick, and the next thing he knew, he was in the hospital bed. I was really angry because that's not at all what my husband told me. When I got home from the hospital, the lights were on in the house, which meant my husband was home. When I entered the room with my mother-in-law and my daughter, we were surprised to find our eyes rolled back in our head, because there were my husband and a woman we didn't recognize. Hey guys, my husband awkwardly spoke to us, but of course I ignored him. May I ask who you are? I said to the woman. I'm sorry. It's taken me so long to greet you, but my name is Vanessa, and I am your husband's subordinate. Your husband is a really good boss to me. He told me how to fish again today, and I never expected. My husband looked at the woman, who bowed deeply to me with a sense of apprehension. Are you crazy? And this woman thinks I am an idiot. I don't know what my husband does for you as a boss, but please, leave. My daughter Ava seems to have reached her limit when she saw the woman's miffed face at my words. Leave already. It's obvious that you guys were having an affair. I have been monitoring Mom's social networking site. You nasty creep. Ava was right. I opened my social networking site for the first time in a long time and found it filled with likes from a woman I didn't know. And it was all done only on photos that showed my husband Brian. It was this Vanessa girl who liked the photo every time. I knew it because of her icon. I've been made a fool of. At Ava's words, Vanessa started giggling. Ma'am, that's why I want you to leave Brian as soon as possible. I almost grabbed her when she said that. But as I held down the thoughts, I realized that this woman was not worth it. My mother-in-law brought a knife from the kitchen and yelled, "Get out of here! Both of you! This is a nightmare!" And while Vanessa said so, my husband was yelling at us saying, "What the hell? What's the big deal? It was just an affair. Besides, you, Lisa, who do you think you owe your life to?" My husband with a smug look on his face, and the cheating partner who was giving me an evil look on her face. I can no longer be bothered to deal with them. It must be thanks to me. I do the shopping, I do the cooking. It's all thanks to me that we get to eat every day. My husband might think I would cry in frustration, so he couldn't say anything. Well, anyway, I'm divorcing you. A woman like you who's never worked a day. You should know the harshness of the real world. He said this with a look of triumph on his face. So, I divorced my husband and went to live with my daughter for a while. Apparently, my ex-husband had been having an affair for several years. I guess Vanessa got annoyed with my ex-husband who never got divorced. So she started messing with me through my social networking site. She's happy to be married to Brian, and she's happy to pay the alimony. It seems like fishing was always Vanessa's hobby. The day my father-in-law collapsed, they met up there, and fishing together in a secluded spot where not many people were around. So much so that you didn't even notice the ambulance sirens went off. Were you too stupid? I couldn't help but wonder. This wasn't the only thing I thought was disgusting. My ex-husband's boss was also having an affair with one of his subordinates, and they used to fishing as an excuse to have weekly secret meetings. I felt nauseous when I found out that sometimes they went straight to a hotel. The picture my daughter showed me at the beginning was the scene of a secret meeting. It was so easy for them not to know who was watching them at any time. I had my revenge on my ex-husband, who had the look of triumph on his face. "Look, Mom, that woman is seriously in trouble." My daughter showed me a picture. It was a picture of Vanessa's secret social networking account. Of course, there were pictures of my ex-husband and his ex-boss and their affair partners, including Vanessa. And in the pictures, they are holding hands in the hotel room. It was a treasure trove. You should know the harshness of the real world. What a saying. I later anonymously sent the photo to my ex-husband's company. Of course, upper management was furious, and my ex-husband and his boss got demoted. I don't know how humiliating that must have been for the former subordinate to become his boss, but he got what he deserved. It seems Vanessa left the company prematurely after she and my husband got married. The house is still mortgaged. The ex-husband's salary must have dropped considerably after he was demoted. And most importantly, look, that's her. She is not a good woman for kicking Lisa out. The neighbors are giving Vanessa the cold shoulder. She's been fighting with Brian a lot lately, saying it wasn't supposed to be like this, and it's not what she expected. I don't care. It's a mistake to think that you can live happily after destroying someone's family. You should know that. The real world is not that easy. After my ex-father-in-law got out of the hospital, he said, I am ashamed to have such a stupid son. I don't want to see him ever again. So, they sold the house and moved into a senior care facility together. Even without this incident, they had been talking about it for a while and had decided to apply for it. We never intended for you to have to take care of us. Thank you for being so good to us, Lisa. My ex-mother-in-law told me that. I still go visit them with my daughter Ava twice a month. We are going on a one-day trip with permission to go out of town. Even though Brian and I were divorced, they are still very important to me. And as for me, although there is some sum of money for alimony, I am 35 years old with almost no social experience. What on earth can I do? And then my daughter Ava asked me things I was good at. Well, housework, I answered with a laugh. That's perfect, she replied with a straight face. With a puzzled look on my face, my daughter told me that there was a profession called housekeeping. This seemed to be my calling. Although I was only cleaning and cooking, my clients were very grateful. My ex-husband would thank me for taking care of in-laws. But when it was just my husband and I, he never thanked me for anything because he took it for granted. I love my job. Last month, I was nominated for first place and won the MVP award. Ava is working hard too. Before I realize, she has improved her cleaning and cooking skills. The other day, she made my favorite omelet. She buys the same seasonings and ingredients as mine to make it taste just like mine. I love my daughter who talks with a little shyness. I hugged her tightly and said, "Thank you." Now that my income is increasing, we are planning to move to a bigger apartment next month. Recently, my daughter and I have been making rounds of real estate agencies on our days off. What do you want for dinner? Whatever you want, Mom. It's on me today. I wondered what was going to happen, but it looks like life is going to be a lot of fun from now on.